Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. The Samaritans are often remembered in sacred texts due to the famous parable of the Good Samaritan, one of the most iconic stories in the New Testament. Furthermore, this people are mentioned in several passages of the Old Testament, demonstrating their historical and cultural importance within the Israelite tradition. But who exactly are the Samaritans? What are their genetic origins? What can the DNA of this people reveal about the ancestral lineage of the Israelites? In this video, we will deeply explore the genetic history of the Samaritans and their direct connection to the Jews of the tribe of Judah. After all, the Samaritans are Israelites, belonging to one of the branches of the ancient tribes of Israel. Throughout this content, you will discover surprising information about the genetics of the natives of the region of Israel, and how this data uncovers hidden secrets about the origin of the Israelite people. Prepare for a fascinating journey through the scientific and historical evidence that connects the Samaritans to the ancient inhabitants of the Holy Land. The DNA of the Samaritans, the native Israelites. The Samaritans are an ethno-religious group from the Middle East with roots deeply intertwined with the history of the ancient Hebrews, also known as Israelites. In Hebrew, they are known as Shomronram or Shamaram, while in Arabic they are called Samiriyun. They are often referred to as Israeli Samaritans or Israelites from the northern tribes, emphasizing their ancestry and historical connection to the peoples of ancient Israel. Their origins trace back to the ancient region of Samaria, located within the territories of the ancient kingdoms of Israel and Judah, an area that today corresponds to the northern West Bank. The Samaritans follow a monotheistic and Abrahamic faith called Samaritanism, which shares similarities with Judaism but developed independently with distinct beliefs and practices. Their religion is based on the Samaritan Pentateuch, a version of the Torah that, according to them, preserves the true Word of God without the alterations they believe occurred in later Jewish tradition. According to Samaritan tradition, they are the legitimate descendants of the Israelites who remained in their land even after the destruction of the northern kingdom of Israel. This narrative contrasts with the story of the 10 lost tribes, which, according to historical records, were deported by the Assyrians around 720 BC. However, the Samaritans maintain that their ancestors were never exiled, keeping the original faith and ancestral traditions of ancient Israel alive. Throughout the centuries, the Samaritans have faced significant challenges, including persecution, assimilation, and population decline. Yet, even though they are a small community today, they continue to preserve their rituals and cultural identity, making them one of the oldest religious groups still in existence. The Samaritans consider the Samaritan Pentateuch to be the original and uncorrupted version of the Torah, believing that over the centuries, the Jews altered the original Israelite religion. While they recognize the Jews as their close relatives and brothers, they maintain that traditional Judaism deviated from the authentic faith by introducing modifications to the scriptures and doctrine. The primary theological divergence between the Samaritans and Jews lies in the definition of the most sacred place in the world. While Jews believe this place is the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, the Samaritans argue that the true place chosen by God is Mount Gerizim, known as the Mount of Blessings. This sacred mountain, located near modern Nablus, ancient Shechem, has been considered the spiritual and religious center of the Samaritans for millennia. This dispute goes beyond geography and also manifests in the interpretation of key biblical events. A notable example is the binding of Isaac, or the sacrifice of Isaac. Jews believe this event occurred on Mount Moriah, the site where Solomon's temple was later built, while the Samaritans assert that the true Mount Moriah is, in fact, Mount Gerizim, reinforcing their conviction about the spiritual primacy of this location. The Samaritans attribute the separation between the two groups to an event that occurred around the 11th century BC involving the priest Eli. According to Samaritan tradition, Eli usurped the religious leadership and deviated from the legitimate worship by establishing a sanctuary in Shiloh, disobeying the divine command to maintain the original sanctuary on Mount Gerizim. This act is seen as the starting point of the division between Samaritans and Jews, resulting in distinct traditions, rituals, and beliefs that persist to this day. Despite the differences and historical challenges they have faced, the Samaritans continue to maintain their ancestral traditions, conducting worship and festivities on Mount Gerizim, preserving a unique religious and cultural identity that has endured for millennia. When it comes to the genetic origin of the Samaritans, DNA studies reveal that they are direct descendants of the ancient people of Israel, with roots mainly in the tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim. However, some Samaritans also claim ancestry from other Israelite tribes. Although they share a similar Israelite heritage with the Jews, who mostly descend from the tribe of Judah, the Samaritans have a unique genetic composition. Over the centuries, their lineage has been influenced by intermingling with other peoples from the Middle East region. Historical records and genetic analyses indicate that, during the Assyrian and Persian domination, there were marriages between Samaritans and Semitic and ancient Persian populations. As a result, their DNA shows traces of Assyrian and Persian ancestry, reflecting the complex history of the region and migrations over time. This genetic fusion has not erased their identity, but rather shaped the history of the Samaritans, making them one of the most fascinating groups in the Middle East, preserving their millennia-old traditions despite external influences. It is important to note that, just as the Samaritans have genetic influences from other peoples throughout history, contemporary Jews have also undergone similar processes. The main branches of modern Judaism, such as Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews, show genetic mixtures with different populations over the centuries. A clear example of this is the Ashkenazi Jews. The very name Ashkenazi comes from Ashkenaz, a term historically associated with the region of Germania, now Germany. This indicates that over time, Jews who migrated to this region mixed with Germanic populations, incorporating local genetic and cultural elements. Similarly, the Sephardic Jews, whose name comes from Sepharad, the ancient name for the Iberian Peninsula, have genetic traits stemming from intermarriage with Spaniards and Portuguese during the centuries spent in the region. Therefore, the debate about who is more Israelite between Jews and Samaritans makes no sense. Both groups, throughout history, have undergone genetic and cultural mixtures, but have kept their identities and traditions alive. Both the Samaritans, descendants of Manasseh and Ephraim, and the Jews, from the tribes of Judah and Levi, share a common heritage and are part of the same historical narrative of the ancient people of Israel. When we talk about genetic purity within Jewish communities, Mizrahi Jews are often considered the ones who have most preserved their original Semitic ancestry. However, even among the Mizrahim, there is evidence of some intermarriage with other populations over the centuries. Nevertheless, genetically, they are one of the groups that have most maintained an ethnic composition close to that of the ancient Hebrews. Now, when we analyze the genetic studies of the Samaritans, we find that their community has been extensively studied over time. Detailed demographic research has been carried out since the 1960s, tracing genealogies of the last 13 generations. These studies show that the Samaritans descend from 4 main lineages, each claiming its origin from specific tribes of Israel. The 4 Samaritan lineages are: the Cohen priestly lineage, Levitical court, represents the descendants of the Levites within the Samaritan community, reinforcing the presence of the tribe of Levi, as well as the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. The Tzedakah lineage claims descent from the tribe of Manasseh, one of the tribes descended from Joseph. The Joshua Marhiv lineage claims descent from the tribe of Ephraim, also a son of Joseph. The Danafi lineage, another lineage that claims descent from the tribe of Ephraim, further reinforcing the connection of the Samaritans to the descendants of Joseph. These 4 lineages are the foundation of the Samaritan community and highlight their direct connection to the ancient Israelite tribes. Even after centuries of persecution and isolation, the Samaritans have managed to preserve their traditions and lineages, becoming one of the most unique groups in the history of the Middle East. In recent decades, various genetic studies have been conducted to better understand the origin and genetic composition of the Samaritan population. Using haplogroup comparisons and large-scale genome analyses, researchers have uncovered valuable information about the ancestry of this enigmatic people. Recently, a genetic study analyzed 12 Samaritan men and revealed that 10 of them, that is, 83% of the sample, carried a Y chromosome belonging to haplogroup J, a genetic group that includes 3 of the 4 main Samaritan families. Specifically, the Joshua Marhiv family belongs to haplogroup J-M267, formerly known as J1. The Danafi and Sedekah families belong to haplogroup J-M172, formerly called J2. These findings reinforce the thesis that the Samaritans are indeed direct descendants of the ancient Israelites alongside the Jews. The genetic analysis proves that the fraction of DNA present in Samaritans is almost identical to that found in Jews, Arabs, Syrians, and Assyrians, peoples belonging to the same Semitic ethnicity. It is worth remembering that Semitic peoples, such as Jews and Arabs, share a common genetic origin. The ancestry of these peoples is mainly composed of 3 primary genetic groups: Natufian DNA, associated with the first inhabitants of the Levant, hunter-gatherers considered the ancestors of the first Semites; Neolithic Anatolian DNA, originating from the first farmers of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, who expanded into the Middle East; Neolithic Iranian DNA, linked to ancient agricultural populations of the Iranian plateau, who also contributed to the genetic makeup of Semitic peoples. If you wish to dive deeper into this topic and understand the origin of modern Jewish DNA, we recommend watching our exclusive video on this subject. There, we explore in detail the genetic roots of Semitic peoples and their ancestral connections. Thank you for joining us so far. May God bless you all, and we'll see you soon.